Hello, my name is Kavan Malaviya.
And my name is Pranav Shankar.
Today we'll be teaching you about Ser versus Estar
in Spanish.
First, why do we need to talk about this? Ser and Estar both mean to be.
What? Why do two words mean the same thing?
Yes, they do mean the same thing. However, there are different cases in which we apply different Ser versus Estar. Let's take a look.
The mnemonic we use for Ser is doctor, which stands for date, occupation, characteristics, time, origin, and relationships. However, the mnemonic we use for Estar is place, which stands for position, location, action, condition, and emotion.
Let's dive into the mnemonic of doctor. So, an example of a date could be Thursday, which is jueves in Spanish. An example of an occupation could be teacher, which is maestro in Spanish. An example of a characteristic could be kind, which is amable in Spanish. Now, let's move on to the TOR part. A time could be night, which is noche. An origin could be Spain, where you're from, which is España. A relationship could be father, which is padre.
Okay, let's take a look at the mnemonic for Estar, place. So for position, we could use beside, which in Spanish means al lado de. For location, we could use Edison, which in Spanish is said Edison. And action, we could use walk, which in Spanish means caminar. For condition, we could use tired, which in Spanish is cansado. And for emotion, we could use sad, which in Spanish is triste.
Now, let's work on the conjugations for each of these words. For the word ser, yo is conjugated to soy, tú is conjugated to eres, and él, ella, or usted is conjugated to es. Nosotros or nosotras is somos, and ustedes, ellos, and ellas could be son. So that's
Let's
ser.
look at the conjugations for estar. Yo would be conjugated into estoy. Tú would be conjugated into estás. Él, ella, and usted would be conjugated into estar. Nosotros would be conjugated into estamos. And ellos, ellas, and ustedes would be conjugated into están.
Lastly, let's work on examples.
Number 1. La computadora está en la mesa. We're talking about the computer's position, so we're using the verb estar, and we conjugate estar to estar. Number 2. Pranav es bajo. Since we're talking about a characteristic, we're using the verb ser, and we conjugate ser to es because we're referring to Pranav. Number 3. Ellos son de Uruguay. Since we're talking about the people's origin, we're using the verb ser, and we conjugate ser to son because of the pronoun ellos. Number 4. Nosotros estamos en la clase. We're talking about location here, so we're using the verb estar, and we conjugate estar to estamos because of the pronoun nosotros being used in the sentence. And lastly, number 5. Yo estoy nervioso. This is a condition, so we're using the verb estar, and we conjugate estar to estoy because you're talking about yourself or yo.
Thank you for tuning in to listen to our podcast. Goodbye.